Have you ever been treated like you don't exist by your own family? Like you're not good enough to breathe the same air as them? Well, I have. And let me tell you, karma has a beautiful way of serving justice on a silver platter. My name is Marlena Hartwick, and this is the story of how my family tried to erase me from the most important day of my cousin's life, only to discover that I literally owned the ground they were standing on. The golden child and the forgotten daughter, growing up in the Hartwick family, wasn't easy for me. My cousin Vanessa was the golden child, blonde, bubbly, and blessed with parents who had money to burn. My Aunt Patricia and Uncle Richard treated her like royalty, funding her every whim, from her expensive sorority dues at USC to her influencer lifestyle that never quite took off. Me? I was the daughter of the black sheep. My mother, Linda, was Patricia's younger sister, and she'd committed the ultimate sin in the Hartwick family. She'd married for love instead of money. My father, Tom, was a mechanic with calloused hands and a heart of gold. He died when I was 15 in a car accident, leaving my mother and me with nothing but medical bills and a mortgage we couldn't afford. That's when I learned what family really meant to the Hartwicks. Nothing. Patricia would show up to family gatherings in her Mercedes, dripping in diamonds, talking about Vanessa's latest adventure in Cabo or Milan. Meanwhile, my mother worked 2 jobs just to keep our lights on. I wore thrift store clothes and worked at Dairy Queen after school. The contrast wasn't lost on anyone, especially not on Vanessa, who made sure to point out my clearance rack sneakers every Thanksgiving. "Oh, Marlena?" she'd say with that saccharine smile. "Are those last season's shoes? How vintage." But I kept my head down. I studied, I worked, and I made myself a promise I would never, ever depend on anyone but myself, building my empire in silence. After graduating high school with a full scholarship, I went to community college for 2 years, then transferred to a state university for my business degree. I worked 3 jobs: waitressing, tutoring, and freelance bookkeeping. I slept 4 hours a night and lived on ramen and ambition. While Vanessa was posting Instagram photos from Coachella, I was learning about real estate investment, property management, and contract law. While she was getting her nails done, I was networking with local business owners and saving every single penny. By the time I was 25, I'd saved enough to put a down payment on a small, rundown duplex. I renovated it myself. YouTube tutorials became my best friend, and rented it out. The profit went into my next property. Then the next. Then the next. I didn't advertise my success. I didn't post about it on social media. I drove a modest Toyota and wore simple clothes. To my family, I was still poor Marlena, struggling to make ends meet. They didn't ask about my life, so I didn't tell them. By age 32, I owned 15 rental properties across the county. But my crown jewel? The Rosewood Estate, a stunning, historic mansion with sprawling gardens, a ballroom with crystal chandeliers, and a reputation as the most exclusive wedding venue in the entire state. I'd bought it for a steal when the previous owner retired, and I'd spent 3 years meticulously restoring it to its former glory. The Rosewood Estate could command $25,000 for a weekend wedding, and it was booked solid for the next 18 months. I kept my ownership quiet. The venue was managed under my LLC, Ethereal Events Holdings, and I let my incredible team handle the day-to-day operations. I only stepped in for special consultations and major decisions, and that's where Vanessa comes in. The wedding announcement, it was March 15th, 2024. When the family group chat exploded with the news, Vanessa was engaged to Bradley Worthington III, heir to a pharmaceutical fortune. The wedding was scheduled for October 12th, 2024, and it was going to be, in Vanessa's words, the most spectacular event this family has ever seen. My phone buzzed constantly for days with updates. Vanessa had hired a celebrity wedding planner from New York. The dress was custom Vera Wang. The flowers alone cost more than most people's cars. And the venue? The exclusive, impossible-to-book Rosewood Estate. I almost choked on my coffee when I read that. I checked our booking system. Sure enough, there it was. Hartwick Worthington Wedding, October 12th, 2024. Booked 6 months ago. Deposit $10,000. Total contract $32,000, my venue. My property. And they had no idea. But here's where it gets interesting. About 2 weeks after the engagement announcement, my mother called me. Marlena, honey, I need to talk to you about something. Her voice was tight, uncomfortable. What's wrong, Mom? It's about Vanessa's wedding. Patricia called me today. She paused. She said that due to limited seating capacity, they've had to make some difficult decisions about the guest list. My stomach dropped. Mom, what are you saying? We're not invited to the ceremony, sweetheart. Just the reception. And even then, her voice cracked. Patricia said there's been a mix-up with the seating arrangements. She's not sure if there will be room for you. Not sure if there will be room for me? I repeated, my voice dangerously quiet. At my own cousin's wedding? I'm so sorry, baby. I told her it was wrong, but you know how Patricia is. She said the Worthingtons have a very large family, and Bradley's parents insisted on certain accommodations. She made it sound like we should be grateful to be included at all. I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, feeling that old familiar shame wash over me. The shame of not being good enough, of being the poor relation, the forgotten one. But then something else replaced it. Something cold and sharp and absolutely certain raged the confrontation that started. Idali decided to attend the next family gathering, a bridal shower at Patricia's country club on April 8, 2024. I needed to see this for myself. I wore a simple but elegant dress I'd bought online and arrived exactly on time. The ballroom was decorated in blush pink and gold, with towers of macarons and champagne flowing like water. Vanessa was holding court in the center, surrounded by her sorority sisters and co-workers, showing off her 8-carat engagement ring. Patricia spotted me first. Her smile froze for just a moment before she recovered. Marlena, how nice of you to come. I wasn't sure you'd make it. Wouldn't miss it for the world, Aunt Patricia, I said sweetly. She guided me toward the back of the room, near the kitchen doors, far from the main celebration. Listen, darling, I wanted to talk to you about the wedding. As I'm sure your mother mentioned, we're dealing with some capacity issues. Is that what we're calling it? I interrupted. Her eyes narrowed. We have to prioritize Bradley's family. His father is a very important man, and there are certain social obligations we need to honor. I'm sure you understand. So there's no room for your sister or your niece at your daughter's wedding? There will be room at the reception, she said, her voice taking on an edge. You'll have a wonderful time. The Rosewood Estate is supposed to be absolutely magnificent. You should feel lucky to even attend there. Do you know how exclusive it is? How difficult it was to book, I smiled. I've heard it's quite something. Vanessa's wedding will be the event of the season, Patricia continued, warming to her favorite subject. Bradley's family knows everyone who matters. This isn't just a wedding, Marlena. This is Vanessa's debut into serious society. We can't have... She trailed off, but I heard what she didn't say. We can't have you embarrassing us. Can't have what, Aunt Patricia? I asked, my voice like honey-covered steel. She flushed. Look, it's nothing personal. It's just that you're not... your situation is different than ours. Vanessa's friends, Bradley's family, they're used to a certain caliber of people. And you work in restaurants, don't you? Something inside me cracked. Not broke, cracked. Like a dam getting its first fissure before the flood. I see, I said quietly. So I'm not good enough to sit at my cousin's wedding, but I'm good enough to be invited to her bridal shower to bring a gift? You're being dramatic, Patricia sniffed. Your family. Of course you're invited to some parts of the celebration, but the ceremony and dinner are very intimate. Only close family and important guests. And I'm not close family? You know what I mean, Marlena. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. She patted my arm condescendingly. Now, I need to get back to the important guests. There's sparkling cider near the dessert table if you'd like some. She walked away, leaving me standing there, invisible once again. I left the bridal shower early. I didn't say goodbye to anyone. I sat in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes, gripping the steering wheel, deciding what to do next. The plan takes shape over the next few months. I watched the wedding preparations unfold from my unique vantage point. Every email to the venue, every change to the floor plan, every special request, all of it crossed my desk for final approval. Vanessa wanted an extra hour for photos? Approved. Patricia wanted to upgrade the champagne package? Approved. Bradley's mother demanded the entire estate be reserved exclusively for their event, turning away a corporate booking worth $15,000? Approved. I gave them everything they wanted. I was the perfect invisible business owner, making their dreams come true while they had no idea who was behind the curtain. My event manager, Claire, did raise an eyebrow at some of my decisions. Marlena, they're demanding we remove the standard backup generator test from the week before their event. They say it's tacky to do any work visible on the property. That's against our normal protocols. Approve it. I said. They want us to hire specific security that hasn't worked with us before. At triple our normal cost. Approve it. They're insisting on using an outside caterer that doesn't know our kitchen layout and has a reputation for running behind schedule. Approve it. Claire looked at me carefully. What's going on? You never let clients steamroll us like this. I smiled. Let's just say I'm making an investment in a very important lesson. But I wasn't just approving their demands. I was also keeping records. Detailed, time-stamped records of every interaction, every email, every contract modification. Because I knew that when the truth came out, they would try to paint me as vindictive, as unprofessional, as someone who let personal feelings interfere with business. I needed proof that I had been nothing but accommodating. The week before, as October approached, my mother grew more anxious. She'd been officially uninvited from the ceremony and informed she could attend the reception for exactly 2 hours before she needed to leave to make room for evening guests. I wasn't even given that courtesy. I received a text from Vanessa herself on September 30th. Hey cuz, so sorry but we're super tight on space at the reception. Mom said you'd understand. Maybe we can grab coffee after the honeymoon and I'll show you pics? I didn't respond. Instead, I focused on making sure every detail of their wedding was perfect. The Rosewood estate had never looked more beautiful. The gardens were in full autumn bloom, with burgundy and gold chrysanthemums lining the walkways. The ballroom's chandeliers had been freshly cleaned until they sparkled like stars. The bridal suite was stocked with champagne, chocolate-covered strawberries, and luxury toiletries. Everything was ready for Vanessa's perfect day. On October 10th, 2 days before the wedding, I received a panicked call from Claire. Marlena, we have a problem. The Hartwick wedding party is demanding an additional rehearsal day tomorrow. They want exclusive access to the entire estate, but we have another event finishing up in the morning, the Thompson anniversary party. It's going to overlap by 3 hours. What did you tell them? I said we'd have to charge them for the additional day and the inconvenience fee, as per the contract. Mrs. Hartwick Sr., Patricia, threatened to sue us for breach of contract. She says they paid for premium service and this is unacceptable, I thought for a moment. Tell them the owner will personally ensure their needs are met and will be on site tomorrow to handle the transition. You're coming in? Claire sounded surprised. I rarely appeared at events. I wouldn't miss this for the world. The day before the wedding, October 11th, 2024, dawned cool and crisp, perfect autumn weather. I dressed carefully in a professional black pantsuit and arrived at the Rosewood estate at 9 a.m. The Thompson anniversary party was winding down, a lovely celebration of 50 years of marriage. I personally thanked them for choosing our venue and ensured their departure was smooth. At exactly 1 p.m., the Hartwick Worthington wedding party arrived for their rehearsal. 3 stretch limousines pulled up the circular driveway. Vanessa emerged first, dressed in designer athleisure that probably cost more than my first car, huge sunglasses covering half her face. Patricia followed, barking orders into her phone. Then came an army of bridesmaids, groomsmen, and family members I vaguely recognized. I stood on the front steps of the estate, waiting. Patricia spotted me first. She frowned, clearly not recognizing me, and marched up the steps. "Excuse me, are you the venue coordinator?" We were promised the owner would be here to personally handle our needs. I smiled. I am the owner. Welcome to the Rosewood Estate, Aunt Patricia. The color drained from her face. Marlena? Surprised? I kept my voice professional, pleasant. I'm Marlena Hartwick, owner and CEO of Ethereal Events Holdings. I wanted to personally ensure your daughter's wedding is everything you've dreamed of. Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Behind her, I watched the realization dawn on Vanessa's face, her expression morphing from confusion to horror. You own this place? Vanessa whispered. I do. Have for 3 years now. Shall we begin the rehearsal? I've arranged for my staff to give you the full VIP experience. The next 2 hours were exquisite torture, for them. I maintained perfect professionalism as I guided them through every detail of the venue. I showed them the bridal suite, the groom's lounge, the ceremony space with its sweeping views of the gardens. This chandelier, I said, pointing up at the massive crystal fixture in the ballroom, is original to the estate, circa 1892. I had it restored by a specialist from New York. It's insured for $250,000. Patricia hadn't said a word since my revelation. She kept staring at me like I was a ghost. Vanessa, however, had found her voice. Why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you say you own this place? I turned to her with a smile. You never asked about my life. In fact, I don't think we've had a real conversation in about 10 years. Why would I volunteer information you clearly weren't interested in? But we're family, she protested weakly. Are we? I let the question hang in the air. Because family usually gets invited to weddings. At least that's what I've always heard. The bridesmaids were whispering among themselves, and I could see Bradley's family members exchanging confused glances. Patricia finally found her voice. Now, Marlena, let's not make this awkward. We've already explained about the seating situation. Oh, don't worry, I interrupted smoothly. I'm not here as a guest. I'm here as the owner of the venue you're paying $32,000 to rent. Believe me, I'll have the best seat in the house, watching from my office, making sure everything runs perfectly. The revelation spreads that evening. My phone started ringing. First my mother, crying tears of shock and pride. Then my Uncle Richard, Patricia's husband, trying to smooth things over. Then cousins I hadn't heard from in years, suddenly very interested in reconnecting. But the call that mattered came at 9 p.m. Patricia, Marlena, we need to talk. Can you meet me for coffee tomorrow morning? Before the wedding? I'll be quite busy preparing for your daughter's event, Aunt Patricia. Please. Her voice cracked. I owe you an apology. A real one, I considered. Fine. 7 a.m. at the venue. I'll have my assistant bring coffee. When Patricia arrived the next morning, she looked like she'd aged 10 years overnight. Gone was the imperious, perfectly polished woman I'd known all my life. She looked small, tired, and ashamed. We sat in my office, a beautifully appointed room overlooking the gardens. Through the window, we could already see the catering trucks arriving, the florists setting up. I was wrong, Patricia said without preamble. I was cruel and snobbish, and I treated you abominably. I treated Linda abominably, and I have no excuse. I waited. When Tom died, I should have helped you both. Instead, I looked down on you for struggling. I made you feel less than when you were just a child dealing with tragedy. And I taught Vanessa to do the same. She wiped her eyes. You've built something incredible here, Marlena. You did it without any help, without any advantages. You did it with nothing but your own determination and intelligence. And I'm ashamed that I never saw it. That I never asked. That I made you invisible. Why? I asked quietly. Why did you treat us that way? Patricia was silent for a long moment. Jealousy, she finally admitted. Your mother married for love. Real, true love. And she was happy, even without money. Meanwhile, Richard and we have everything money can buy, but we've never had what Linda and Tom had. I resented her for it. And I took it out on both of you. It was the most honest thing she'd ever said to me. I can't undo the past, Patricia continued, but I want to make things right. Please come to the wedding. As a guest. The most honored guest. I'll announce to everyone who you are and what you've accomplished. I shook my head. No. Marlena. I don't need you to announce anything, Aunt Patricia. I don't need validation from you or Vanessa or anyone in this family. I know my worth. I built this empire because I wanted to, not to prove anything to you. I leaned forward. But you're right that you can't undo the past. The hurt, the humiliation, the years of being made to feel like I didn't matter, those things happened. And I'm not going to pretend they didn't, just because you've suddenly realized I'm successful. Then what do you want? She whispered. I want you to be a better person, to treat people with dignity regardless of their bank account, to teach Vanessa that being kind matters more than being seen. And I want you to rebuild a relationship with my mother, your sister, who has never stopped loving you despite how you've treated her. Patricia nodded, tears streaming down her face. I will. I promise I will. Good. I stood up. Now you have a wedding to get ready for. And I have a venue to run. Whatever our personal history, I promise you that your daughter will have the most beautiful wedding day imaginable. Because that's the service I provide. That's the professional I am. The wedding day, October 12th, 2024, was absolutely perfect. The weather was ideal. Crisp autumn air, brilliant sunshine, leaves in peak fall colors. The Rosewood estate looked like something out of a fairy tale. From my office, I watched it all unfold. Vanessa did look beautiful in her Vera Wang gown. Bradley seemed genuinely in love. The ceremony was touching, the flowers were spectacular, and the reception was a dazzling success. I monitored everything from behind the scenes, the catering timing, the music cues, the lighting changes. Every detail was flawless. Around 8 p.m., there was a knock on my office door. I opened it to find Vanessa, still in her wedding dress, her makeup tear-stained. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I stepped aside. She walked to the window, looking out at her own reception happening in the gardens below. "It's beautiful. The most beautiful day of my life." "I'm glad," I said, and I meant it. "I'm sorry," Vanessa said, turning to face me. "For everything. For every mean comment, every dismissive look, every time I made you feel small. You didn't deserve any of it. You never did." "No, I didn't. I was taught that money and status were the only things that mattered. That people like you, people who had to work for everything, were somehow less important." She laughed bitterly. "And look at you now. You own this incredible place. You built a business empire, while I've been, what? A failed influencer living off my parents? Vanessa, no, it's true. I have no real job, no real skills. I've never accomplished anything on my own. And you've done all of this." She gestured around the office, at the estate visible through the windows. "You're everything I pretended to be. You're actually successful, actually independent, actually impressive." We stood there in silence for a moment. "It's not too late," I finally said. "To become the person you want to be, to build something real. Will you help me?" she asked. "I don't mean with money or connections. I mean, will you teach me? Show me how to actually work for something?" I studied her carefully. This could be another manipulation, another performance. But I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Genuine humility. "We'll see," I said. "First, you should get back to your wedding. Your husband is probably wondering where you went." She nodded and moved toward the door, then stopped. "Thank you for making today perfect, even though we didn't deserve it, even though we didn't deserve you." After she left, I sat in my office for a long time, watching the celebration continue into the night. Around 10 p.m., my mother arrived. Patricia had sent a car for her, and she was dressed in a beautiful gown I knew Patricia must have bought for her. "My brilliant daughter," Mom said, hugging me tight. "I always knew you'd do something amazing. You're not upset I didn't tell you about all this?" "Upset? Honey, I'm proud. You didn't need to show off or brag. You just quietly built something incredible. That's exactly who you are, strong, independent, and too busy actually succeeding to worry about what anyone thinks." We stood together at the window, watching the party below. "Patricia and I talked for 3 hours this afternoon," Mom said. "Really talked for the first time in 20 years. She wants to make things right. Do you believe her?" Mom was quiet for a moment. I believe she wants to try. That's enough for now. The aftermath, the Hartwick-Worthington wedding became the talk of social circles across the state, but not for the reasons Vanessa had hoped. The story got out. The poor relation who'd been excluded from the wedding turned out to own the exclusive venue. It spread through gossip networks and eventually hit local news. From forgotten to Forbes worthy, how one woman built an empire while her family looked the other way, read one headline. I didn't give any interviews. I didn't need to. My business spoke for itself. What did change was my relationship with my family. Patricia began rebuilding her relationship with my mother, slowly and imperfectly, but genuinely. Richard called to apologize and ask if I needed any legal help with my businesses. I didn't, but I appreciated the offer. Vanessa actually followed through on her request. She started working part-time at one of my rental properties, learning property management from the ground up. No special treatment, no easy ride. She showed up on time, took direction from my staff, and worked hard. It's been over a year now, and she's still at it. I'm not good at this yet, she told me over coffee last month. But I'm learning. And for the first time in my life, I'm actually proud of something I'm doing. As for me, the Rosewood estate continues to thrive. I've since acquired 2 more historic properties and am in negotiations for a 4th. I employ 37 people and we're booked solid for the next 2 years. But more importantly, I've learned that success isn't about proving anything to anyone else. It's not about revenge or showing people they were wrong about you. Success is about knowing your own worth, building something you're proud of, and refusing to let anyone else's opinion define your value. My family tried to make me invisible. Instead, they taught me that I didn't need their approval to shine, and in the end, that was the greatest gift they ever gave me, even if they didn't mean to give it at all. Epilogue: last week, I received an invitation in the mail. Vanessa and Bradley are hosting their first anniversary party at, where else? The Rosewood estate. The invitation was addressed to Marlena Hartwick, owner and honored guest. Below that, in Vanessa's handwriting, was a note. Thank you for teaching me what real family means. This time, you'll have the best seat in the house. Love, Vanessa. I haven't decided if I'll go yet, but I am considering it. After all, the Rosewood estate is my venue, and I always make sure my guests feel welcome.